Everybody watching, my name is Taryn. I'm from New Hampshire and I'm a student at Northeastern University in Boston. Today I'm interviewing Mark Mahaney, who is currently the Managing Director at RBC Capital Markets in San Francisco, California. Mark, please start by telling us where you grew up and where you went to college.
Let's see, I grew up in Washington, D.C., and I went to college at Amherst, in Amherst, Massachusetts at Amherst College.
What was the process like for you in deciding what to do after high school?
Let's see, get into any college I could. Let's see, I knew I wanted a liberal arts college, so after high school, I just was focused on college and nothing. I'm sorry, I don't have any great insights there.
In what ways do you think your formal education helped to prepare you for your career afterward?
That's a good question. So I think about that. From high school, college, I went to grad school at Johns Hopkins for international relations, and then I changed gears, pivoted, and I went to business school at University of Pennsylvania at Wharton. And I'm not sure which of those four experiences was most formative. I learned different things. I really enjoyed Johns Hopkins Graduate School for International Relations, but what I do now has nothing to do with that, but I really enjoyed it. So I just think of, but maybe high school and college were anything that just helps you think creatively and, instills work ethic. That seems to have worked out reasonably okay for me. And so that's what I kind of took away from it. I'm not sure there's any one body of knowledge that I would say that I've kept with the entire time. There are probably some, since I'm in finance now, probably a few of the tools that I picked up at Wharton were helpful just to start. Yeah, I just think anything that a learning experience where you have to stretch yourself and figure out new puzzles and apply both creativity and work ethic, that's what's kind of got me where I am. I don't know if that's far or not, but it's got me where I am.
Did you have any jobs during college that influenced your thinking about what you wanted to do upon graduation?
Absolutely. From college, I was very interested in international relations, and so I went straight from college and worked at Foreign Policy magazine, kind of like Foreign Affairs magazine, Foreign Policy magazine in Washington, D.C. I was really interested, and when I was at college, I ran the college's like public affairs student group, international relations student group. I also did something with Amnesty International on campus too. So those things really got me excited, and that took me to a job kind of at a research think tank. And then I did a series of think tanks after college, and then that kind of led me over to grad school.
So tell us about your career path. What was your first job out of college? And then what types of companies have you worked for? And what have your roles been at those companies?
One of the most interesting and exciting things I did has nothing to do with business, but after graduate school, the first time I did a 2-year stint with something called the Presidential Management Internship Program, PMI, which in Washington, D.C., if you look around, you'll see that where all the parking lots are. That's somebody who runs, I think it's Parking Management International. I didn't work for the parking company, but I did work as a presidential management intern, and I worked in the U.S. Senate. But the most interesting thing to me was working with the U.S. Trade Representative's office, and then working at the U.S. Embassy to the European Community in Brussels. So that was a 2-year kind of rotational assignment. I went from that and worked at a business-oriented think tank. I was interested in international trade issues. So I kind of always stuck with the international angle, and then I became more interested in trade issues. And so I worked at a think tank, worked on a book on trade issues. And then that took me to an interest in business. And I thought, well, I think I'm starting to understand some of these higher level issues, but I really have no idea how these businesses actually operate and generate profits, et cetera. So let me learn that. And that's what took me to Wharton.
What kind of educational background and experience should a person have to be qualified to do what you do professionally? And in your opinion, is an advanced degree important or not?
So right now I'm an equities analyst. I work on Wall Street at RBC. I've worked at Morgan Stanley, at Citibank. I've now been on the street for about 21, 22 years. I am the oldest lasting, but not the oldest looking, internet analyst on Wall Street, and I've really enjoyed it. So when I started, there were these public companies that were just going public, like eBay, and then Amazon had gone public a few years before. Yahoo and AOL were kind of the major internet companies of the day. This is well before Facebook, well before Snapchat, well before Twitter, well before Google. But I watched all these companies in this industry grow, and so I'm lucky. I cover a really dynamic, fun industry. I like to analyze things. I'm kind of a left-brained person. I think that means more analytical, but I'm still somewhat creative. But I like analyzing industries, and I get to cover some of these companies that have just done some amazing things over time, even during this COVID crisis that we're all living in. Now, there's a few companies, I cover them, like Netflix and Amazon, that are seeing a surge in demand, and frankly, that are helping people cope and live, reasonably sustainable, ongoing lives. And so these are companies that have got dramatic economic, dramatic social footprints: Google, Facebook, Netflix, Amazon, Uber, names like that. So anyway, that's what I do. That's my day job. I need to figure out how big these companies can be, or small. Some of them will decline over time. What kind of revenue they can generate, what kind of earnings they can generate, what multiple the market should put on that, what market the multiple may put on that, and whether that creates opportunities to buy and sell the stocks. And I think just the experience in the industry has probably been more helpful than anything else. But getting the basic tools from business school, yeah, I think having an MBA from Wharton, it sort of opened doors. So it allowed me to get my first job on Wall Street at Morgan Stanley, because they felt like maybe I understood balance sheets and cash flow statements reasonably well. Yeah, I did reasonably well. Not certainly no expert, but reasonably well, good enough to start being dangerous. And then it was just a matter of learning this industry. And then it gets back to basic educational formation. Your level of inquisitiveness, your ability to know when you're wrong and to be fully acknowledging that you're wrong. There's an expression in the industry. It's called learning animal. And it's those people who are constantly interested in learning new things, like are just excited by the idea of learning. And for me in the stock market, this may sound silly to you, but like if I get a stock call wrong, I don't like it. That means some clients have lost money. But sometimes I find that very exciting, because that means, well, something I didn't know. What do I need to figure out? Well, why is it that Twitter, I had a buy on that a few years ago, that turned out not to really work. It certainly hasn't outperformed the market. What did I get wrong about Twitter, and what can I learn from those mistakes? And the wonderful thing about the public markets, for good or for bad, there's very objective measure. If you have a buy on the stock and it goes down, you're wrong. If you have a buy on the stock and the stock goes up, you're right. And maybe you got lucky, but it's very objective that way. And so that's what the idea of being a learning animal, and just there's a sense of humility that goes into it. It's impossible to know everything that's going to happen. And, there's, I didn't predict this pandemic, and I don't think anybody else other than Bill Gates did. So, and how businesses are going to react to that, I think it's fascinating trying to figure that out. And anyway, so I don't know if that helps or not. And I tell you what, when I look to hire people, that's kind of when I look to hire people coming out of college or grad school. I mean, one of the most things I'm interested in is, if the person who interviews with me says, I actually don't know the answer to that question. I love to hear that, because I like to hear the humility, and I don't want a Mr. or Mrs. Miss Know-It-All. The other one is, but this is how I think I could go around trying to find the answer to that. That's a great combination. Somebody who's acknowledging they don't know something, but they're willing to, they have an idea about how they could find out, and they're willing to test it.
Wow, thank you, Mark. And what has been the most important factor, do you think, in shaping your career?
I'd say three things. And I'm trying to be objective about it. I think I work reasonably hard. I think in order to be good at anything, you got to work reasonably hard at something. Second is having a creative approach to it, like being able to think, outside the box. It sounds so cliched, but I think it's true. There are a lot of people who do what I do, but I've been doing it for longer. And one of the differentiations is I take different views on stocks than other people do. I can maybe see things a little differently. And then the third one is just being open to looking at things differently. The third one is the learning animal part, and maybe I am, maybe I'm not. But I do enjoy learning new things, and if you have that ability, then you can constantly grow. The day that you're not really interested in learning something, and you get complacent, then it's hard to continue. You can be very good for a while, but you'll eventually fade out.
And what advice do you have for young people thinking about a career in business?
Uh, well, I guess work on the foundations. So if you want to do business, work on the foundations of finance if you need to, but definitely math, accounting if you can. Accounting, finance would be helpful. Learn some of the basic tools. I didn't do a lot of spreadsheeting in college, but that's a really useful tool. PowerPoint is okay. And then communications skills, both speaking and written. And I think especially written. I think it's a way to really help you gather your thoughts. I find that if I can't write something well, then I probably can't pitch it well as a stock idea to clients. And so other people may have different ways of approaching their thought process, but I certainly find that I can, after I start writing something, if I know it's good, I can tell it. If I get more excited as I write it, then I know I've got something interesting. And this is my major assistant. This is Noah, my oldest son.
Hi, Noah.
All right, I'll join you in a minute.
All right. Well, Mark, thank you so much for being with us today and dedicating some time to giving advice and insight into your career path. I think this is going to really help a bunch of students who are now looking into business, looking into working with stock markets and going in the same direction that you went. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Terry. Best of luck.
Thank you.